Oh yeah, you guys are gonna love what's about to come up. This is gonna be just baller, because when we were looking through this earlier, in fact, let's just go ahead and jump in, okay?
Yeah, because I'm excited about this
When
one.
we were looking at the whole genre thing, we came across this article right here, where they talk about games that are technically a combination of two genres by virtue of their main mechanic. And we freaking loved it, and it got us thinking about the whole paradigm and the mindset of coming up with your game's genre. So this article here, which is on a place called Cheat Sheet, okay?
Yeah.
Talks about a few games, I think it's like 5 or 6 of them, where they don't really have one main genre. They're really a combination of two, and it's so cool. And the first one they talk about is a game I really love, which is Valkyrie Chronicles.
Yes. Yeah.
Valkyrie Chronicles...
With Valkyrie Chronicles, it may have been out for a little while, but it is still really, really popular.
It is. And I think they're on the 4th one now, but I love the first one. The first one's where my heart goes. I absolutely love the story. I love the drama. It takes place in an alternate universe that is very reminiscent of World War II. It's just a really, really good game. But what is it? I mean, it's technically a strategy RPG because you have to build your forces up, you have to place your troops on the map, and then you have to, prepare them for the enemy by looking at where the enemy is located. It's very strategic.
Yeah.
But the moment you choose a unit to move, you go into a third-person shooter mode. Now, it has stats like how far the player can move, and some people have certain things that happen when they're on grass as opposed to roads. It has a lot of mechanics involved. But you're still, at its base, running towards the enemy with your gun or your sniper rifle or your machine gun or whatever, or your tank if you're Gunter, and you're firing at the enemy.
Yeah.
So what is it? Well, this is a cross-genre game. This is a strategy RPG slash third-person shooter.
Yeah. And you're seeing a lot of games nowadays doing that because, again, it's all about differentiating yourself from everybody else in the pack.
Exactly. They have this game, Harry Hentworth, and it is technically like Mega Man, but it's also a puzzly game. So it combines, again, two different things.
I had never heard of Harry Hentworth before, and when the article mentioned it, I went to go look it up. And where has that been all my life?
It actually looks like it'd be a lot of fun. A platforming puzzle game?
Puzzle game, yeah.
Now, the next one on this list is something that I have seen before, and that's called Puzzle Quest. And that is an RPG. But the moment you get into a fight, it goes into almost like a match 3 with you versus the enemy. And I've seen a number of gacha match 3 games that are like that, but this one is legit. And it was just so neat to see it come up on this list here. Because again...
Yeah. It's a lot more than using Tetris to load your gun.
Yeah.
It's actually, and I've seen trailers for these types of gameplays where the objects that you're matching in the puzzle enable you to affect combat. For example, you match 3 scrolls and you've now got a magic spell you can fire at the enemy.
Right. 3 swords does a power attack. 3 shields does a defense and defends you against incoming damage. 3 heals or crosses or whatever heal your party. And what's awesome about this is it's still at its heart a puzzle game, but it's also at its heart an RPG because you have to strategize what you choose in order to affect yourself during this turn-based combat.
Oh, absolutely. In these games, choice matters.
Absolutely.
A lot.
And then there's this, and seeing this is what kind of really shifted the conversation for Teal and I. Fallout 3.
Yeah, Fallout 3.
Big fans of the Fallout series here. Fallout New Vegas is, I think, arguably our favorite, or it's definitely my favorite.
That's absolutely my favorite, Fallout New Vegas.
And then, of course, Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 for different reasons. And I enjoyed the original Fallout games, 1 and 2, but they're so different. They're isometric, turn-based RPGs. That's all they are. They're turn-based RPGs. Fallout 3 is not. Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas are FPS / RPGs. Because while the main mechanic is running around and shooting stuff, there's also the VATS, which changes everything. The core mechanic of VATS changes everything by giving you a highly strategic RPG style that raises and gets better the more your stats raise. Mm-hmm. So in that regard,
you don't have to rely so much on your skill at shooting from the hip.
Right.
When you have the VAT system.
Right, and as you progress your character, whether it's the Lone Wanderer, the Courier, or the Sole Survivor, it's not relevant which one it is. As you progress them, those FPS elements get better, but also the elements that are non-FPS, like talking to people, looting. So, when we read this, Teal and I started talking about how genre itself is, as you guys have mentioned in chat earlier, highly subjective.
It is.
It is highly subjective, and it is primarily a marketing tool. And there was one more mentioned, Roller Coaster Tycoon, but to us that didn't matter, because the conversation, when we got to Fallout 3, we took the whole conversation and
we spent a lot of time on it.
And we put aside the whole, what genre is your game? We put that to the side, and we started talking philosophically speaking. And the consensus that we came up to, she can go ahead and give her own point of view. I'm going to give the one that I came up and told you personally.
Okay,
is that if you're stressing over what genre your game is, especially prior to marketing, then you're stressing over the wrong thing. You need to be focusing on what the core mechanics are and how to make them relatable to the player, to the UX. You don't need to be worrying about, should I call my game a visual novel or a puzzle game or an action game? I'm not saying it's not important. It is a very important from a marketing standpoint. It's important from perhaps an elevator pitch standpoint, but it's not important from the developing standpoint at all. In fact, the more you think of genre and the more you obsess over the genre of your game, the more you're setting yourself up to harm your game.
Because at that point you're starting to constrict yourself and your own creativity to conform to whatever idea that genre is.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
And 9 times out of 10, it's not you, the developer, who's going to assign the genre to your game. Marketing aside, it's the player base.
Yeah.
And that was when it opened up in our mind. It's the players that assign the genre. Yes, the marketing team is going to give a category and it's going to go on that shelf on GameStop. Yes, you're going to go with some kind of a genre thing, and that's what it's going to show up on Steam. But who's really going to define what your game is? It isn't you. It's the players.
No. So concentrate on making your game. The genre will define it. It'll come.
It defines itself.
It'll come.
It defines itself.
Yeah, it defines itself. Yeah.
Human says genres make sense for marketing. I could also see mixing and matching games a nice way to brainstorm. Exactly. Yeah. Now that's true. You can use genre melding, genre mixing, etc. In order to brainstorm and come up with ideas and stimulate those creative juices. You could also do a genre shift style game. You could do a game that starts off as a murder mystery and then turns into supernatural horror, or survival horror. You could do that. That sounds like a Cthulhu game right there.
It does, actually.
It starts off, and the first full half of the game is a murder mystery with very little supernatural elements whatsoever, and a little bit of supernatural gets put in, a little bit more, and the next thing you know, when you're in the second half of the game, it's straight up Eldritch horror. So you can do that too. But again, you're not forcing the genre. You're not forcing the game to follow the genre. You're using the.
It's just a guide.
Right.
You're just kind of guiding your thinking.
Right.
And your brainstorming and creativity. That's all it is.
So for those developers out there who are wondering what genre is my game, what you should be worrying about more is what experience is my game bringing to its players, and then from that, let the genre naturally come out and let the players be the ones who give it the final label.
Yes.
All right, so go ahead.
I was going to say Roxy, rolling the dice for random genre blends. I'd like to see you do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or do you come up? It sounds like a game jam game.
It does.
Actually.
It
does. Like a game jam premise.
It does. It does.
Ooh. Ideas there.
So high school romance porting into Eldritch Gods. Yeah, I mean anything like that. Anything where you take a game and you meld it from one to the other. Again, to try to sum this up, genre is a guideline for you, and it's the players who will actually assign the genre meaning, not the developer. Alright, so if you like what you saw, lay the smack down the like button below, subscribe to our channel, consider supporting us on Patreon, connect with us over Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and we'll see you in the next video.
See you next time.